What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P, the Bluff Guy. Hey, and we are back with another reaction stream. Yes, today we will be reacting to a video from a YouTuber I haven't met before. Like, I haven't really heard of or haven't reacted to any of their stuff. They're pretty new to me, right? Small YouTuber, YouTube channel that was sent to me in the Discord. Uh, Comes from YouTuber ReelRayman, like real, not like real like REAL, but like a film reel, like a REEL, right? ReelRayman, and the name of this theory is the ultimate One Piece Uranus theory, the ancient weapon in the sky. Okay, all right, so obviously this video is about Uranus, right? Uranus, the ancient weapon that we still probably know about the least out of all the ancient weapons. Because with at least Shirahoshi, we or Poseidon, right? Poseidon we know is Shirahoshi, the mermaid princess, with the ability to manipulate sea kings. I think Poseidon's pretty much the ancient weapon that we know about the most, right? And then you have Pluton. Now we still don't know a lot about, or we don't know everything about Pluton. We don't know what Pluton exactly well, we have an idea what it is, but we don't know. We haven't seen it yet, right? We haven't confirmed and seen what it is just yet. Like we confirmed that Shirahoshi is indeed Poseidon, right? So with Pluton, we don't know. We know, it's been said to be a ship, right? It's been said to be a ship, but is it like an actual ship, kind of like the Sunny or the Mary or the Moby Dick or something? We don't know, right? There's been speculation that it could be Zunisha, right? Zunisha, which is a living thing, a living creature, right? But it's almost treated as it is a ship. So that's why a lot of people kind of see that Pluton could possibly be something like Zunisha, because Zunisha travels through the ocean, and the minks live on top of Zunisha as if it was like they were on a ship, right? Like they were on the ship. So we do know that Pluton is a ship with the capabilities of destroying an island, right? That's pretty much all we know about Pluton. We heard about it from Alabasta. It was what Crocodile's been looking for, right? I guess he believed it was in Alabasta. But supposedly Robin knew this whole time. She just never said nothing until now. Is that Pluton is indeed actually in Wano country, right? So now we're starting to learn a little bit more about Pluton, at least when it comes to the location. And we could possibly see Pluton in the near future, when at least in the manga, right? So we might be getting answers when it comes to Pluton, like more concrete answers in the near future. But when it comes to Uranus, right? When it comes to Uranus, we still don't know anything about Uranus, right? It's like the least. It's like the only. The only ancient weapon that we don't know about. Like we really have no idea what it is. At least with Pluton, we kind of have an idea of what it is, its location, all these things. We don't know where Uranus is. We don't know where what Uranus does, right? We don't know what Uranus its ability is, right? Like we know with Poseidon, it controlling sea kings. Pluton could destroy islands, right? Could destroy islands. Uranus, who knows? Now I have my own speculation, and before we get into the video, let's kind of talk about what I believe, my views on Uranus, right? Oh. My views on Uranus. All right. Based on the video, right? It says the ancient weapon in the sky, right? So it's kind of, I want to say that the video may imply that Uranus is a weapon that stays in the sky, or it works from in the sky, or it's in the sky. I don't know if that's where he's saying it's located in the sky, like maybe a sky island or something, or it's just a weapon that functions in the sky, right? Now, me personally, I kind of have a belief in both, right? I believe, one thing that I kind of said, right? One thing I've said in a stream I've done, months ago. I want to say it was the Reddit Moon Island, the Reddit moon theory that I read a while ago, like about December-ish, right? I talked about how I believe that Uranus could potentially be on the moon, right? And why? I think Anel might actually run into Uranus. I think it's a potential. It's I think there's a potential that Uranus could be on the moon, and maybe Anel found it, right? Because we know that the moon, like I have a belief that the moon has a lot of secrets on, like, about the ancient kingdom. And another thing, if the ancient kingdom were trying to really hide their weapons, or hide these ancient weapons they probably created, or I don't know how the ancient weapons came about, then maybe if let's say Uranus could be potentially the most important ancient weapon, right? But even if it's not, maybe the best place to hide your most important weapon, or just to hide a weapon in general, is to hide it on the moon. It's not something that people have easy access to, and if you're really trying to hide your weapons in good places, I would think maybe, because I kind of believe that the Skypeans and the possibly Lunarians had a connection with the ancient kingdom, right? Like maybe they had a connection with the ancient kingdom, and maybe it was their responsibility to hide Uranus, just like maybe it was the fisherman's responsibility to protect the Poseidon. It may have been Skypeans' responsibility to protect Uranus. It could have been Wino's. It could have been Wino's, the people of Wino, and maybe the Minks as well. Could have been their responsibility to protect Pluton, right? So I think the best, if I was a Skypean, right, and I was in charge of protecting the ancient kingdom, I would hide it in the moon, personally. We got Angel's Room in the building. He says, yo, and then he says, I've only seen a snippet of the vid. Should be a great theory, though. Okay, we're about to check it out in a little bit. And before I expand more, I almost forgot, y'all. I almost forgot. Hey, guys, hit that like button. Also, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit that bell for notifications. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you're looking for a One Piece community to be a part of, we have the Discord and we have the Facebook group. All of these will be linked in the description box below, as well as the video we are reacting to today. All right, so back to my rant, right? Yeah. So I believe that Uranus could potentially be on the moon, because we don't really hear about it, right? We haven't really heard about Uranus, at least on the surface, right? Like, we've heard about Pluton at this point. We've heard about Poseidon at this point, especially when we was in Fishman Island. But that's the only place we really heard about Poseidon, was Fishman Island. Pluton is, I guess, known more widely on the surface than all the other ancient weapons, right? So why isn't Uranus, like, why haven't we come across an island where they talked about Uranus yet, right? Possibly, maybe it's on a sky island or even the moon, right? Possibly. You know, that's kind of that's one of that's my belief, right? And another thing, I think Uranus could potentially be like a sky island in itself, possibly. You know, I mean that's not, you know, that's kind of something I just kind of thought about, right? Like maybe it's a sky island, you know, maybe it's a sky island that controls the weather. That's another thing I kind of want to talk about. I want to talk about what is the what is the function of Uranus? What does it do, right? What we know that Pluton is capable of destroying islands. You know, at least it was hyped to that level. And then we know that Poseidon can control sea kings. So what does Uranus does? What do Uranus or what does Uranus do? What does Uranus do? I think it's a weather control vehicle. Possibly a sky island that controls weather, right? Possibly a sky island. Why do I think it controls weather, right? Well, ultimately, you guys know my belief in the ultimate goal in One Piece, right? Well, I mean, becoming Pirate King is Luffy's ultimate goal. But what is the ultimate I guess what's the ultimate trying to look for the word. I guess what's the ultimate thing for the actual series, right? I think it's unifying the world. You know, I think that's the ultimate goal. That was the goal of the ancient kingdom, right? And that's going to be what Luffy ultimately achieves, right? Unifying the world, bringing people together, connecting the world, making it become one piece, right? How do you do that, right? You get rid of the red line, get rid of Reverse Mountain and the Grand Line and the calm belts, right? Make it to where people can travel among the blues, as well as we get the all blue from it, right? If you get rid of the red line, Reverse Mountain, the Grand Line, if you get rid of all these things, we have the all blue. So that definitely accomplishes Sanji's goal, right? That accomplishes Sanji's goal. So, right? So ultimately we have to get rid of the red line, right? We have to get rid of the red line. We got I God in the building. He says, yo, how are you all? Hey man, I'm good. Energy's not there today. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that in I don't have the energy today. I've been pretty much fasting, you know. I pretty much fast weekly, so Mondays is usually kind of like I don't have that much energy, but I'm still good though. I'm still good enough to do this stream, so we gonna do it, right? We gonna do it. So yeah, okay, we get rid of the Grand Line. Okay, now what happens when you destroy the red line? Let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about that. What happens when you destroy the red line? Or let's just talk about the process of destroying the red line and how the ancient weapons are connected to that. You know, how the ancient weapons connect to the destruction of the red line. Okay. Well, we know that Pluton is capable of destroying the island, right? So we know that Pluton has a high destructive capability, right? Poseidon controls sea kings, you know. Ultimately, we know that one of Poseidon's purposes in the Sea Kings are to pretty much move Noah, right? Now, it can be heavily speculated and implied that Noah, the purpose of Noah is for the fishermen to pretty much travel to the surface. Now, I don't per se know if I 100% agree with that, right? Because they're fishermen, right? They're fishermen. Why do they need a ship to travel to the surface? You know, when they can all just migrate, they can all just swim to the surface. Now, maybe the travel to the surface for fishermen, that could be a very tough travel, right? Maybe that's why it's just not so easy for fishermen just to travel to the surface. Not saying they can't, but maybe it's tough. Maybe it's a tough journey, a dangerous journey, because you got other aquatic animals like sea kings, like other sea kings that can potentially see these fishermen traveling to the surface and see them as food, right? They see them as food. So maybe the Noah is, it kind of avoids the dangers of traveling to the surface for the fishermen. So let's just take it as the purpose of the Noah is to move the fishermen from A to B, you know, from Fisherman Island to the surface. Okay. So now, now we know that. Okay. So now we talk about destroying the red line. How do we destroy the red line? Now, I would probably think that is the purpose of Pluton, you know, because Pluton is known to be capable of destroying an island. So maybe Pluton's purpose is to like constantly assault the red line until it's no more, right? So Pluton, I speculate that Pluton's purpose is to destroy the red line. Okay. Now, what comes from destroying the red line? The destruction of Fishman Island, which is right under the under the red line, you know. So the destruction of Fishman Island. Now maybe that's when Poseidon's purpose comes into play. You destroy the red line, now Fishman Island's in danger. So now you have to remove the fishermen from Fishman Island so they don't get hurt at the destruction of the red line and Fishman Island. So okay, now that fulfills two purposes. Pluton's destroying the red line. Poseidon removes fishermen from under the red line, right? Okay, now let's talk about what comes after the red line is destroyed. Well, I believe when the red line is destroyed, there's going to be some type of a backlash, right? There's going to be some things that come with it, right? And the main thing I believe is the weather, right? The weather in the world of One Piece will probably be unstable because you removed this geographical anomaly, right? So you remove that, and now the weather may be a little unstable because it's going to have to stabilize, right? Because you removed a big piece of the world that affects weather in its own right, you know, because we know that in the Grand Line. We know in the Grand Line that that the weather is weird, right? Like there's a lot of weather anomalies, and I personally believe the reason for that is the red line itself, right? That's why the Grand Line, the weather is weird, right? Because when you go on the East Blue, at least the East Blue, because that's the blue that we probably have the most of seeing, the weather's not that crazy, right? Like, you know, it's not affected by the red line as much as the Grand Line. But if you remove the red line, I believe possibly the whole world, the whole planet could potentially go into some weather instability, which will cause like storms, tidal waves, all these different weather phenomenons. And I think that's going to be where the purpose of Uranus comes into play. That's when I believe the purpose of Uranus comes into play. Now, why do I believe that Uranus is definitely a weather thing and has something to do with the sky, which is part of the reason why I think it has something to do with weather, because I believe it's going to be an ancient weapon associated with the sky, kind of like the title of this video. And because let's look at each weapon individually, right? Let's look at each weapon individually. Pluton, you know, the god of it's Pluto, right? The god Pluto, right? Let me look this up, make sure I get the right information. Pluton is named after the god Pluto. All right. Hold on. Let me Greek god. Okay. Pluto, the Greek god. It's Hades, right? Hades was. I think Pluto is the name, the Roman name for Hades. I think. Let me look it up. Yeah, I think Pluto is the Roman name for Hades. I could be wrong. Yeah, yeah. Okay. And when you look at Hades, Hades is the god of the underworld, right? He's almost like the god of hell or just the underworld, right? Of the dead souls. And when you look at Pluton, Pluton is capable of destroying islands. People live on islands, so if you destroy an island, it's going to be a lot of dead people that's going to go to. So I mean, I guess that's the easiest way I can really connect Pluton to Hades, right? And then when you look at Poseidon, the god of the oceans, the brother, the oldest, I think he's the older brother of Zeus. He's the god of the ocean. He can command marine life. That's kind of what Poseidon's ability is, right? That's kind of the ability of Shirahoshi. She's kind of like the god of the ocean. She can control the sea kings, okay? So now let's talk about Uranus, right? Uranus is the god of the sky. Yes. Uranus, the god of the sky. All right, so Greeks imagine, but yeah. So Uranus is the god of the sky, and when I think of sky, right? When I think of how we can apply that to One Piece, the One Piece world, the god of the sky, right? Kind of like Enel, who's also kind of a weather. He could do lightning. Even I mean, he doesn't really control weather, but he could do lightning and thunder and all that. So when I look at the god of the sky, I look at a god who could potentially manipulate weather. Because that when I look at like something destructive, when I look at an ability that's destructive and has something to do with the sky, I look at weather, because all the rain comes from the sky, wind. Well, wind, I don't know where wind comes from, but I don't think it comes from the sky. It's just kind of like, I think it's part of like the ocean, shit, stuff like that. And then you have snow, tornadoes. All these weather phenomenons are related with the sky. So that's just kind of my speculation, and I kind of think he's kind of on the same page, because he even says the ancient weapon in the sky. You know what I'm saying? So iGod says, I think Blackbeard is the one who's going to steal Pluto, because in the myth, you're going to find that Cerberus is always with Pluton and Pluton the god. So I think Teach is the Cerberus. That's a good take. That's actually, I've went on, like, I think when it comes to early theories and speculations about Blackbeard and his devil fruit, one of my early theories about Blackbeard was the potential of him having, and it wasn't mine, of course I got it. It's just one of the early theories I kind of believed about Teach, was about him having the Cerberus devil fruit. And seeing, and when you think about it, I just talked about how Pluton is Pluto. Pluton is pretty much Hades, right? Hades. And when you look at Cerberus, Cerberus is the three-headed hellhound of Hades. So, I mean, there's a connection there. So, it could be something to it. iGuy says, if you destroy Redline, Fishman Island's going to be in danger, so you have to make Fishman safe and then destroy the Redline. not. Yeah, I pointed that out. I already pointed that out. And then he says not tough travel because Arlong did it in Fisher Tiger and Jinbei. But the thing about that is Arlong is a he's an adult fishman. He's a adult male. He's a very tough. He's a strong fishman, right? He's probably stronger than the average fishman, you know. And I'm not saying he's the strongest fishman, you know. He's not as strong as Jinbei or probably even Hody Jones at that point, right? And with the steroids, but for your average fishman, it might not be that travel safe of a travel. So yes, Arlong could do it. I think what's her name from the Sabaody arc, the one who had the little starfish with her. I think she's done it. So I know it's possible, you know, and I acknowledge that it was possible. But the thing is, it may not be a safe travel for an average fisherman, you know. So the Noah might be there to make it a safe journey for all the fishermen, right? For all the fishermen. You know, like you can't use fishermen that are like tougher. You know, like you can't use Arlong. Arlong is a pretty tough fisherman, and you know he probably knows how to travel to the surface safely. You know, he could probably handle himself getting to the surface, right? Plus he had that cow sea king. It was like a small sea king. I don't know if he's a sea king, but that cow sea animal. So maybe that Cube says he said, "What's up, guys? What up, Cube? Welcome to the stream." But yeah. So I don't want to keep ranting. You know, I thought this was an interesting topic. You know, we talking about Uranus, right? So let's talk about Uranus. So let's get into the actual video. Let's not waste any more time. And hey, y'all, go show this guy some love, man. He's a small channel, so go help him out. You know. Cube said, to this day, Arlong is my top 5 favorites OP villains. You know, Arlong was a pretty good villain, though. You know. All right, let's begin.
That's derived from a god that rules over the sky. But who is it? The last ancient weapon Uranus has a name that's derived from a god that rules over the sky. But who is it? Or what is it? And where is it? Today I'm going to be sharing 3 of the best theories you'll ever hear on what Uranus actually is. So the way this will work is we'll start out with...
I will say this though. I want to say this. I think for me it would be more poetic though if Enel is the character define Uranus, and then he brings it to Earth, right? Like he brings it back to the ground, and maybe he end up allying with Luffy and them. Cause the reason why I like that idea is because one, it brings Enel back, right? It brings Enel back, and it gives him some type of a purpose. Cause his purpose would be to bring in the ancient weapon, this ancient weapon from the moon. And I honestly think it might even like something like Uranus could potentially like amplify Enel's ability, or Enel with his abilities could amplify the destructiveness of, or just the effectiveness of Uranus, right? Because Enel has that lightning, you know what I'm saying? So it might work better for somebody like to be controlled or in the possession from somebody like him, you know what I mean? So that's why I kind of like the idea of Uranus being on the moon. It gives Enel a reason it gives him a reason and a purpose to be back in the story, right? And then maybe he like shares some of the secrets on the moon with the Straw Hats or something. Like, you know, we get some exposition about what's on the moon. You know, because I'm super curious about all the secrets on the moon personally. So I think that'd be dope. Let's continue.
With the most unlikely theory, then go to the second theory, which I think has a higher probability of success, and then I would like to share the best theory, in my personal opinion of course, on what the last ancient weapon, Uranus, actually is. And trust me, you want to watch to the end. And be sure to subscribe, because I'll be dropping quite a few videos and theories in this 1 month break. So let's see if we can try and get to 500 subs, because that would be amazing. Without further ado, let's start with theory number 1. Now this one is a theory that will absolutely shock you, and probably not in a good way. People might even say this is idiotic at first glance. Personally, I also think it's the most unlikely option, but don't rule it out just yet. The last ancient weapon Uranus is Captain Kidd's Devil Fruit. I know what you're thinking, massacre, this is impossible. But did you know there's actually one force that we need to navigate the Grand Line, and that happens to be the magnetic force. And in One Piece, it's said that islands create their own peculiar magnetic fields, and some islands like Punk Hazard don't even have magnetic fields. And interestingly, the
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling that theory of I'm gonna let him finish though. You know, maybe it changed my mind, but right now I don't. That'd be underwhelming to be Kidd's Devil Fruit personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I'm not against it being a devil fruit, right? Like maybe a weather devil fruit. Like let's say if Dragon does have a weather devil fruit. And he is Uranus, you know what I'm saying? Okay, like I'll be fine with that. But that's if Uranus is indeed a devil fruit. But if it's Kidd Devil Fruit, I don't know if I don't think it's Kidd. I don't know if I think that this one's really a good one so far, you know. Cube says Nami has something to do with Uranus. Her weather gift seems to be pushing her towards that path, but I'd see Enel bring important. I mean, I don't know. I know we talk a lot about Nami and Uranus, but I don't think she has to have something to do with it. Maybe she might be connected to, like, let's say if somebody has, let's say whoever has Uranus or is like bad, right? You know, like Enel. Like let's say it is Enel who has Uranus and he comes back and he's still like bad, right? Let's say he still wants to cause havoc, and I could see like Nami possibly being the key to stopping it. You know what I mean? And then he says, I agree, Kidd's Devil Fruit is a huge leap in sale. Yeah, I don't know if I think it's a leap, but let's continue.
The reason for this phenomenon has never been explained. It's a bit strange, no? Could it be that a previous awakened user of Kidd's Devil Fruit was the one to assign these magnetic fields with this special ability, assign? And I think the parallels between these three pirate captains, Luffy, Kidd, and Law, might be a reason this could all work out. As of chapter 1000.
Honestly, like unrelated to the theory, unrelated to Uranus, that's kind of a good point, you know. That's kind of an interesting take that he just said about like how the islands, you know, because how the log posts work, they go to each island almost, they point to the next island. So it's like a electromagnetic situation going on. So does it have something to do with Kidd's, like maybe a previous user of Kidd's Devil Fruit potentially doing that with the islands, right? Like think about it, right? Like maybe a lot of the phenomenons going on in the world of One Piece are related to previous users to these devil fruits, right? Like the Red Line, for example. The Red Line was already said that it wasn't natural. You know, I can't remember where I seen it, but somewhere it said the Red Line isn't natural. Like it wasn't always there, I guess. So was it somebody with like Pika's Devil Fruit that created the Red Line, or maybe I'm trying to think of another Devil Fruit that could have potentially created the Red Line. Shiki's devil fruit, or I can't think of any other devil fruits. But was it like a previous Pika's devil fruit user, right? The magnetic thing that he was just talking about, was it like previously somebody who had Kid's devil fruit? What about some of these islands that have these crazy phenomena? Like that one island we see that it's always lightning. You know, was that somebody with Anel's devil fruit? Punk Hazard was already explained to be like Akainu, and Aokiji is responsible for that. But maybe what happened to Punk Hazard, that's what happened to a lot of other islands, right? Like maybe that could be the situation. You know, maybe the world of One Piece that we see today was affected by a bunch of devil fruit or just ability wielders, right? People who like these devil seed users that we kind of talked about last reaction video. Yeah. Q said, I feel she'll sense Uranus, but she won't be Uranus. I mean, she could probably sense what Uranus does, but I don't think she'll be able to sense it like the actual weapon. But let's continue.
2053, their bounties are 3 billion each, being held as the 3 people that defeated the 2 Yonko. But I believe Oda is doing something intentional with this lineup. All 3 of these characters may have extremely important devil fruits that are pivotal to the endgame of One Piece. As we all know, Luffy, his devil fruit, it's the sun god Nika, literally a fruit derived from a deity. Next, we have Trafalgar Law, the Opie Opie no Mi, whose importance is probably on par with Luffy's devil fruit, the ability to perform the immortality surgery within the One Piece world. Doflamingo said it was one of the 2 powers he needed to become a god. Then you have Kid, who can slam people with his magnet fruit. But that's not all that can be done with the fruit. That's all Kid has done with the fruit, because Kid is mid. Okay, I gotta stop saying Kid is mid now. He's actually pretty decent. Like, he's done quite a bit. But what relevance could this fruit have? Well, I think it could be something related to the One Piece endgame theory. Could it be that this fruit was tasked to do this? Change the magnetic field of each island so they can all interlock. And this is what the devil fruit was really meant to do. To make the real Pangaea once again. If you're unsure what I'm talking about, Pangaea Castle is a castle that the government controls in Mary Joyce. And when the Earth was a continent about 250 million years ago, it was also a world continent called Pangaea. So this would be creating the real Pangaea, not the world governed Pangaea. So one of these devil fruits saves the world, one gives the gift of immortality, and the other connects the world into one piece. Also, there's something really interesting I found recently. Basically, in the Enel cover page where it's looking at the moon paintings, we see 2 different paintings. One where the moon people are all having a good...
Hey, I'm like saying though, right? Like, just imagine, man. Just think about it. We're talking about Uranus, and he brings up Enel. You know what I'm saying? Like, he brings up Enel, right? So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel as though Enel's almost hard not to bring up when you talk about Uranus. You know, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But let's continue.
Time, this guy's doing an operation here, civilization is thriving, they're all standing on an upside down straw hat, and in the second, tears. Natural resources have run out and they are forced to leave. But what is even stranger is what is accompanying them in this image, right here. I feel like this is telling us what happened in the Void Century. Civilization was once thriving, an event happened which changed everything, and then the ancient weapons were developed. We see in the image, Sea Kings, which is what Shirahoshi needs to be called Poseidon. So maybe the other 2 ancient weapons are
my question though, right? You said the ancient weapons are developed, right? Like, they're developed. How do you develop Poseidon though? You know, like, that just seems like an ability, right? Like, that just seems like something, you know, like, how do you create Poseidon? You know, like, I guess like Pluton, you can build a ship. And that's kind of, to me, that's kind of the weirdest thing about these ancient weapons, right? They don't seem like they're all like, they don't seem like they're all on the same page. Like, when you look at weapons, right, you could develop weapons, right? Poseidon is a sentient being. It's a being, right? Pluton, you could build a ship capable of destroying islands. Now, I don't know exactly if that's what Pluton is, like the type of, because it says ship, like we know it's a ship, but when it says ship, does it mean an actual wooden ship, or does it just mean something that the ancient weapon considered a ship? Kind of like some people would consider Zunisha a ship, even though Zunisha is a big elephant, but it acts as a ship, right? So, but let's go off of Zunisha being a actual wooden ship, kind of like the Sunny, right? You build one ancient weapon, Pluton. You build this ship, you create the ship, give it a purpose. You build Uranus, which could be like an airship, right? You give it a purpose and say, okay, it controls weather. How do you build Poseidon, right? How do you build Poseidon? Now, I think what would make sense, let's say we know Poseidon is indeed a living thing. Pluton possibly being a living thing as well, right? Pluton, that's why I personally think Zunisha being Pluton can make sense. I think it makes more sense than Pluton being a wooden ship, an inanimate object, but that would probably also have to make Uranus a living being as well, which I guess it wouldn't be a weather controlled airship. You know what I'm saying? Q says, I feel that it's linked to some kind of reincarnation will cycle. But that has nothing to do with, that wouldn't have anything to do with technology, right? Where Pluton is more of a technology type thing. That's more of some supernatural thing, right? So how do you build supernatural? How do you create supernatural? I mean, I guess if somebody had like some ability back in the ancient kingdom where they could actually create like a Poseidon type curse, right? So like say, okay, you're going to be Poseidon. I'm going to put this spell or this curse on you and you're going to be an ancient weapon. If something like that happened, okay, I guess I could understand. Igon says Redline was built to make Marijoa up in the cloud, just like D-Clan Island. I don't think it was built just to make Marijoa. I mean, why wouldn't they just put Marijoa on the Sky Island or something? I think there was a different. I think the purpose of Redline was to segregate the world. I don't think it was made just to create Marijoa. Q says similar to the Devil Fruit cycle. Angel says SSG might answer on how you make a person with special abilities. Cube says maybe the will of those ancient reincarnate in other people. And then Angel says, by the way, the red line thing, red line being natural or unnatural has never been answered. I'm pretty sure it was said somewhere that it was unnatural. I'm pretty sure. Q said Pluton might also be a person that creates that ship. And then Igon says Kid's fruit can control metal. So in the awakening, he can control bodies. There's metal in the human's body. Yeah, I know that. Kid can even control other materials. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess so, but I don't know what you. Let's continue.
In this image, we see a strange rectangular looking thing which in theory could be Pluton. And lastly, we see a weird circle thing at the top, which if we continue this trend would represent Uranus. One in the water pushing a boat, one a battleship beneath ground, and one in the sky. And interestingly, has cardinal directions which looks to resemble a compass. So could it be it ties back into our theory that Kid's devil fruit is actually the ancient...
He made a good point that I like, because when you look at every ancient weapon, right? Like the ancient weapons so far they kind of follow a theme, right? Where you got land, water, air, right? Pluton would be land, you know what I mean? Even though it's a ship that's on water, it's still more of a land because it destroys lands, right? It destroys lands. Then you got Poseidon deal with the sea, right? It deals with the sea. Uranus deal with the air, right? Deal with the air. So if it was to follow that theme, I think that also points to Uranus being some type of an air ship or air weapon. But yeah.
Weapon. But also there are a few problems with this theory that I want to address. We do have to consider the fact we don't know how practical it is to change a whole island's magnetic field. And second of all, I'm not so sure this is the route Oda is going with the last ancient weapon, even though of course it's possible. But all in all, I think it's an interesting theory for sure, so the probability of success I'm giving this theory is 3.000, that's 10 zeros, you know, in tribute of Kids Bounty, percent. So basically I'm giving it a 3% chance of success. But okay, let's go to a completely different concept, a complete 180 on what the ancient weapon Uranus could be. Not Captain Kidd's devil fruit, but it is the original serum that created the giant. And there are a few reasons I feel like this theory is even more probable than the first one.
Going back to that Reddit theory that I read, I think it's the moon theory. I think one of the speculations of Uranus was being something having to do with giants, you know. But I think in that specific theory, it was like the giants would control, like they would operate Pluto or Uranus, right? Like that was the theory that they were the operators, and it kind of points out, because I kind of see where he's going, right? It points out that I think in mythological, like in Greek mythology, right? Uranus, the god of the sky, Uranus, he was killed or injured or something, and his blood pretty much was responsible for creating giants, you know. Like that is, I think that if you guys look in Greek mythology, I don't remember the actual story. I know I'm just kind of paraphrasing of a very foggy memory, but in Greek mythology, I guess he was killed and his blood fell to the earth and created giants somehow. I don't know how. I don't know the full story, but if you guys go look it up, I think that's a story in mythology. So yeah, so that was part of the reasoning behind the idea that Uranus was going to have something to do with giants, and I think that might be where he's going. So let's definitely hear what he has to say. Angel says, nope, I don't think anything has ever been stated for the red line when it comes to its being natural. I mean, I'm not trying to go back and forth with you about it. I'm just saying that's what I believe is the case. That's what I heard. I'm not arguing with you. I don't know. So I'm not going to go back and forth with you on everything, Angel. Let's continue though.
First off, in Greek and Roman mythology, the giants had a battle with the Olympian gods, where the giants were literally born from the blood of Uranus. Yes, the same name as the ancient weapon. And there's something very strange.
Exactly. Like, yeah, so
about the world government and the Yonkers' obsession with giant creation through unnatural means. We found out recently through Big Mom that the numbers were failures from experiments that tried to recreate the ancient giant race. And we also found out that the government had been supposedly researching for centuries to create these giants. It begs the question, why would someone even seek to do this in the first place? I've always thought that it's a blueprint kind of deal, where the ability to create giants on a whim has actually existed in the past, and therefore these experiments experiments are being conducted. And just to back this up, the governments are essentially copycats. The Lunarian race, the gods, used to live atop of the red line, and then what did the world government do? They started living atop of the red line. The ancient weapon Pluton, developed by the ancient kingdom, is a battleship that can destroy an island with one blow. What did the world government do? They developed the Buster Call. And if we continue this trend out, the gigantification process could also be the world government trying to emulate the great ancient kingdom, in specific, the ancient weapon Uranus. By Caesar's own admission, outright turning people into giants without any side effects is impossible, and when a character normally says something is impossible, it normally isn't, and comes back to the story in a big way. Although this doesn't link with the revelation we discovered earlier with the moon painting, it does seem to fit with the general direction of the story, especially with the real ties to Uranus in mythology. So for those reasons, I'm giving this theory a percentage probability of success of 17.6%. And if you guess correctly on why I picked 17.6%, I will pin your comment. Now before we go into the last theory, and in my
17%. Okay, and I do believe this, like the whole giant serum. I think that's more likely than the kid theory that he first said. And I actually wouldn't be against that, because I think like, cause it does make sense, right? Like the government have been trying, like Caesar been trying to create giants, and all they're really doing is probably just trying to repeat something that's been done before through Uranus. But you know, Uranus probably, like, you probably can't replicate Uranus. If let's say Uranus is something that creates giants, it's probably impossible to replicate it, you know, successfully, like correctly. Like you could probably replicate it, but there's probably going to be a lot of drawbacks, like we've seen. So and I could see some use for possibly creating giants to a degree. I still don't know if I agree with this theory either, but I could kind of see some use of it.
In my opinion, the best theory of Uranus. Let's go through 7 honorable mentions and the probabilities quickly. The straw hat, 0.56%. The egg, 1%. Momo, 1.23%. Zunisha coming at a whopping 2.31%. Vivi, 2.5%. Luffy, the man, the myth, the legend, 5.6%. And the main man, Dragon himself, coming in at 6.66%. The reason I can't go through all these theories in this one video is because there will be way too many to cover. Like, I think the other two are way more interesting and maybe even more likely. But this one, in my opinion, is the best theory anyway. And this one you need to hear to the end. Like, actually to the end. The last ancient weapon, Uranus, actually is... Drumroll please! Uranus is a space machine developed to explore the solar system, and I want you to hang around till the end because through developing this theory, I may have accidentally come across proof of the actual location of Laughtail. But I'm not starting this theory off with
a spaceship to travel. Yeah, I don't agree with. Like, so far I'm already not agreeing with this one, because it's like, what is traveling? What do traveling in space, like, how does that what does that do for the story? I mean, I'm gonna let him explain, but like, what does it? I don't see what it does for, like, what's going on on Earth. You know, where everything is happening in the world of One Piece. Like, what does that do? You know what I mean? And I don't want us to try to become Dragon Ball Z. I don't want One Piece try to become Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, where we're now it's like, let's start going off in space. You know what I mean? Like I'm fine with the moon type. I'm fine with the moon, but like some space travel, I don't know. I don't know. I think that's a little. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think Uranus being a spaceship is a bit of a stretch. But let's let him explain his point before we really start trying to break down this theory or tear apart this theory.
some evidence, but rather a story. There once lived a man named Luffy. His dream was to be the freest man on the seas and make a world where all his friends could eat. He adventured across the blue sea, explored Sky Islands, even went deep underwater. He thought he was the freest man in the entire world. But one day, he found out that the world was bigger than he ever imagined. Instead of one, there were actually 8 moons. The world government tried to hide the truth. Now this man named Luffy had 2 options: stay the king of the blue sea or go out and explore the infinity. Which would he choose? But you're probably wondering, ReelRayman, what is the 8 moon stuff? And what are the world government hiding?
Yeah, I'm still thinking a bit of a stretch, right? I do get the 8 moons. There are, for everybody who don't know, there are multiple moons, right? There's like if you look back at the O'Hara, like you go look at a picture of O'Hara, the library, there is a planetary thing where we got the Earth, and then we got a bunch of small celestial bodies that revolve around the Earth. Now, they could be planets. Like maybe the world of One Piece, like the Earth is the center of the solar system, and those are just planets revolving around them. But it's easier to just kind of say that they're moons because we just kind of go off of the logic around like our logic, right? Where we revolve around the sun and not we're in the center of the solar system. So we're just kind of taking it as their moons, right? And there was also a panel with Capone pretty much like I think he was traveling on the sea, and then there's like this moon that's like literally not that far away from the Earth's surface, and it was actually pulling ships up off the ocean. Now, I don't know if that was indeed a moon or if it was like some sky rock or something. Like maybe it could have been something like cheeky left around, laying around. I don't know, but it looked like a moon though. It definitely looked like it could have been one of those moons that we see on that that planetary model that they had at O'Hara.
You must be high or something. Well, the truth is that every single symbol we see, the Kozuki symbol, the Sky People, and the Alabaster flag, by the way, all deeply connected to the ancient kingdom, all resemble a symbol that is a circle with 8 surrounding orbs. Now for sure, it's a representation of the sun and the coming of dawn, but I think Oda is playing his classic tricks here. And this is also hiding the truth of the ancient kingdom's 8 moons. In O'Hara, Professor Clover did have a globe that was the centerpiece to the library showing 6 moons, but of course we did not get a full view of the globe. And Clover, he had vast knowledge about the D-Clan, the ancient weapons, he even knew the true name of the ancient kingdom, so I would assume his model of the Earth and the surrounding satellites was also accurate. Now if there are 8 moons, how are we gonna explore them? That's where the ancient weapon comes in. Remember that image all the way back at the beginning? You probably remember my proclamation. 3 ancient weapons in the image, but also we have a guy wearing a fish suit, and the ancient weapon associated with fishmen, Poseidon. We have a guy wearing a helmet with Zora's earrings, so potential ties to the Shimotsuki clan, and potentially this relates to the ancient weapon that hides under Wano, which is Pluton. And then we got a person wearing antennas, and of course I speculate this thing is the ancient weapon of the sky. Now let's consider the man reading the
Those do look like Zoro's earrings though. So I mean, hey, he might be on to something about the Shimotsuki clan, but would that mean like Shimotsuki? Well, I have speculated before that Wano, like the people of Wano are connected with Skypians, and also fishermen as well, you know what I mean? So yeah, maybe there's definitely more of a connection between them, but yeah, I mean it kind of makes sense, man. He's making some sense. He's making some sense right now. Let's continue.
The artifact. It's Enel. How did he get to the moon? All he needed was a few divine soldiers to build him the Arc Maxim, which by the way are not even close to advanced as the ancient kingdom. And this was a flying ship that could travel to the moon and had the power to devastate islands wherever it goes. Now if this idea is built upon and we have at least 6 moons on the O'Hara globe and a more advanced kingdom capable of making spacecraft, wouldn't it be possible for there to be a space machine that can travel to these moons? Because we have to remember, the ancient kingdom's people were potentially just like Luffy, pure explorers. So what was stopping them from going and traveling to space? Nothing. But what is stopping the current generation from going to space, or ever finding out about its existence? The world government. But now I will reveal my finale, my final piece of evidence. I've done the detective work of Oda's cover pages, and you guys might also like this. Also, I think if you made it this far into the video, it's fitting you subscribe to the realest channel in the West. We know Oda does tons of foreshadowing in these cover pages. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, but there's none like this one. I noticed the space pirates on the moon all seem to wear some type of clock or fuel system on their suits, which I thought was very interesting because I remember a cover page of Usopp playing around with a mini rocket with a clock. It says up here, power alarm clock. Then I saw this cover page. And this is when I freaked out. No, really, this is my reaction. Luffy is sitting on his Pirate King chair. A monkey with a crown is behind him. They're all either pointing to a map or a globe. I assume it's Laughter since Luffy is dressed up as Roger and all. But under Nami, we see that it says PAC. The same PAC we see with Usopp and the clock and the link to space. Either Oda's trolling really hard right now or I'm onto something huge. And finally, there is this cover spread. We see a clock. Oh no, we see many clocks. That's interesting. But if you look closely, there is some writing on the main clock. The machine that can travel. It cuts out. It cuts out. I want to know where the machine can travel. But then Sanji's shirt says 3 o'clock. And Nell goes to the moon in chapter 300. Coincidence? I think not. But if you look down, what? Chopper. Infinity sign. I'm starting to put this all together. This is the machine that can travel to space. And what is that machine? It's not the Arc Maxim. It's something greater. Developed by the ancient kingdom themselves. URANUS. The last ancient weapon, the space machine. Probability of success, 56.29%. If you like this video, leave a like or share this video to a friend or a group. Trust me, it helps more than you think. And if you want to see more One Piece content,
alright, I'm gonna definitely give him a like. Alright, yeah, so that's the thing, you know. Yeah, I'm not really sold on that theory of it being a spaceship, you know, because y'all, like, I already kind of explained early in like the beginning of the stream of my belief with the, like, I believe that the ancient weapons have a purpose, you know, they have a specific purpose in the overall story, and I think their ultimate purpose is pretty much it is being part of the process of unifying the world, right? And when I look at this theory, I think about it like, what does a spaceship have to do? Like, what does a spaceship have to do with anything, right? Like, what does it, like, how does it affect what's going on in the One Piece world? I mean, sure, it can allow them to travel space. I get that. That's cool. That's fine. But unless Oda is planning on giving us a sequel or a spinoff, like a space sequel or a space spinoff, where Luffy wants to become the space space pirate king, I don't see the purpose of going to space. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless we're continuing the series and we're doing it in space this time. That's the only purpose I can see about going into space. And I don't think Oda's going to continue this, like, give us a sequel to this part of the story where we go to space. You know, I don't see that happening. You know what I mean? But yeah, what do you guys think though? What are your guys' thoughts? I'm gonna keep this a short stream. I don't really have a lot of energy today. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. Sorry. But yeah, what do you guys think? Like, what are your guys' thoughts? Leave it in the comment. What do you think Uranus is? Do you agree with the theory? All his other Uranus theories, do you think one of them is a better, more viable option than it being a spaceship? How do you feel about Uranus being a spaceship though? You know what I'm saying? How do y'all feel about that? I don't per se agree with it. You know what I mean? I don't think it's likely, but it was an interesting theory though. Interesting theory video to watch and talk about. So yeah, let's talk about it in the comments. Guys, give me your thoughts. What did you think? And yeah, so make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. And follow me on Instagram or Facebook. What would I say? Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow me. And if you're looking for a One Piece community to be a part of, we have the Discord and we have the Facebook groups. So yeah, you guys join that. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm like out of it today. You know, I'm not fully here. But I did want to somebody sent me this video and I did want to talk about it. So that's what we did today. Anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean P. the Bluff God, and I'm out of here. Y'all have a good Monday. We will be back tomorrow for another reaction stream. I'm out of here.